it depends on their particular, what it is they're looking for, what it is they're trying to attain. There's various types of paperwork. Some people use certain types of paperwork because they're doing certain types of things. Some people are coming from their Native American heritage side and have ties to the land. That's going to be different than someone that doesn't know squat about that and joins the temple and registers their nationality and their temple registers with the local governments. And you have those that want to be totally independent, want to have their own land. So, you can't put the Moorish movement in a box, all right? And then you have people who are going to express themselves in the way that they're going to express themselves. Now, this particular case right here, the world passport, let's get into what is a world passport. And I wrote an article about this in the Moorish Times Journal, but I'm going to go into a little more detail right here. And in order to understand the world passport, let's talk about a guy named Garry Davis. And you can look this up in Wikipedia. His name is Sol Gareth. He was born Garry Davis, and he lived from 1921 to 2013. He's an international peace activist, and he's responsible for creating the world passport. Now, he was also a Broadway stage actor. All right. He was American bomber pilot, World War II. All right, so this is what it says about him. Now, I point this out because he was a Broadway actor. Now, we know that Yasiin Bey is a musician, music artist, hip-hop artist, but also a Broadway actor. Now, when you're in the entertainment industry, there are especially when you're popular and you have a lot of fame, there's a lot of different things that you're going to encounter, So I'm not saying that he's following in this person's footsteps, but I'm just saying that this is something that is not, it didn't just come out of a vacuum, This world passport is a form of protest. So what I'm saying is this is not unlike the Guantanamo Bay. This is not unlike Katrina collapse. Not every Moor is going to do a protest like Guantanamo Bay. That's up to the individual how you're going to do your protest, And then Moors can't have it both ways because and then how do you truly understand how the Moorish paperwork is used? All right, but you can't have it both ways. If somebody go out there and do something and then there's a problem, then you want to say, oh, all right, they're running ahead, they're doing this and that and that. So what I say is if you're not in touch, if you don't know what's going on, you need to ask somebody and do the research and stop jumping around. Stop thinking that, oh, this what's going on, some dirty Moors did this, dirty Moors did that. Even though, he's not the only one that uses the world passport or espouses that. There are people that talk about the world passport, but it's a form of protest. It's a ideology. It's not necessarily Moorish, but hey, it is what it is. Let's see. It can be Moorish if a Moor is using it. It depends. What science are you moving in? But now in this particular case, we're looking at it from a form of protest. Now, the basis, the foundation by which the world passport stands on is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 13, Section 2. If you read that, everyone has a right to leave his or her country and come back to his or her country. Now, this does speak to the, the nation state concept and the de facto governments, because these are just inalienable rights. That's what this is based on. All right. Now, in modern times, this document is issued by the World Service Authority, who's located in Washington, D.C. Now, I hear news agencies talking about a world passport doesn't exist. Well, so, somebody's not telling the truth, or they're not doing their paperwork, or they're making an assumption, oh, that's some, what they call silly Moorish stuff. And, they're just assuming like everybody else. Now, the world passport as a travel document You can look that up. It's very similar to a passport. There's text in English, French, Spanish, Russian, Arabic, Chinese. This is an international document. All right. It's not just, it's a 30-page document, similar to a apostille. And this is another tool or document. It can be used for identity. It can be used for travel purposes. So this document can be used for identity as well, not nationality, but identity. You know, and it actually speaks to the very question of when you're free, you are able to produce all different kinds of paperwork. When you're free, when you have your own government, you can produce what other governments produce. See? So some people want to say, oh, this is illegal. You can't do that. Who says? The de facto government? All right, there's codes and statutes, and I know what we're standing on. But it's a way of thinking. When you have your own government, you can produce what other governments produce. Now, there's already Moorish documents in place that work as that. But you can get specific with different types of documents depending on your use and what it is you're trying to do. So, it's also used, and this is important, it's also used and issued to refugees and stateless persons. Now I want everybody to go and look up a document. It's a document, and I'll post it later, issued by the United Nations on refugees. Just Google document issued, refugee document issued by the United Nations. And in this document, it deals with statelessness. As a matter of fact, if you Google statelessness and United Nations, this document may come up as well. But it deals with statelessness. And when you look at statelessness, you'll see that this is the same position that so-called Negroes, blacks, and coloreds and other so-called minorities that are under naturalization and immigration are under. We're actually in a stateless status. And when you look at this, it's connected with the Trust Commission of the United Nations that deals with denationalization. All right. So, you know, this ties right in to the very international human rights struggle of the so-called blacks here in America. This is a human rights political activist protest. All right. That's the origin of this document and the nature in which it was created and what it's been used for. Garry Davis had been arrested 20 times from country to country using this over and over. All right. So all this by 1975. All right. He had been arrested 20 times across international borders, trying to cross with nothing but a world passport. Again, you can Google this. This is in Wikipedia. I was looking at this yesterday, and now there's an update that says right next to his, in 2016, the rapper Mos Def was arrested in South Africa for trying to use the passport to leave the country. All right. And they put it right in the situation. There's only right in the same section. There's only two notable rejections. The ones are Garry Davis, and then the other, Mos Def. Now, people use this, and it's accepted in a lot of countries. All right. It's accepted all over Africa, and it's accepted internationally. Some of the people, I'm going to read some of the countries that accept it. Burkina Faso, well, it says here, claims acceptance. It might no longer be accepted, but Ecuador claims acceptance. Mauritania accepts this. Tanzania accepts this. Togo accepts this. Zambia accepts this, and it says it may no longer. Ecuador accepts this. All right. Now, of course, the United States doesn't accept it. Ukraine, Russia, New Zealand, European Union. All right. Are we seeing something here? Yeah. European nations don't really want to accept it. And they say that, oh, it's because it's not from a reputable government. And it's because it's from a government that they can't control. It doesn't fit within their parameters. they're the ones violating the human rights, all right? According to the United Nations, self-identification is the criteria. So they go against self-identification when they go against this, all right? And it's the same thing when they go against your nationality and your nationality card, the de facto governments. This is human rights violation. Now, I also want to point out, so we went through statelessness, we went through identity, we went through as a political statement, and I'm just going to read what it has here. It says, this is in Wikipedia, regardless of its acceptance or lack thereof, the traveler may obtain a world passport as a moral statement of his or her belief in the inalienable right to travel under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Number of Russian citizens have obtained the world passport as a form of protest against the red tape imposed by the Russian government on their citizens and aiming to travel abroad. All right. So he entered in on a United States passport, and he's trying to leave on this passport. So obviously there's a protest going on. He's not using the American passport. He may have let it expire or choosing not to use it. I'm not sure. I've heard different accounts in the news. But the point is, there's a statement being made here. All right. This is a form of protest. It's a form of international protest. All right. Secondly, it's South Africa, folks. All right. It's Africa, but it's South Africa. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do I need to say more about that? All right. Apartheid. All right. Now you can think that it's no longer that Africans in control of the government. You'd be living in a fantasy world. All right. That's South Africa. It's still under apartheid. All right. It's just under unofficial apartheid. They just can't be recognized by the government officially, and they're in cahoots with the United States government. I just named off a bunch of countries that accept that. All right. So, this is not a document that the world is not aware of. Maybe some of these ignorant journalists aren't aware of it, but I just wanted to clear that up. Now, that being said, as a Moor, can you use this? Hey, not everybody's going to accept your form of protest. Not everybody's going to like the science that you move in. But at least you out there and you're active and not passive. So whether you agree or not, this is what the world passport is about. It can be used as a form of identity for those who are rejecting the nation state concept and making an international human rights protest. All right. And keep in mind, this also brings up the statelessness, the condition of statelessness of a people. All right. This opens up a whole can of worms, nationally and internationally. But more importantly, whether it was intended or not, it's if we look into the situation, we can become knowledgeable. We can become educated. We can become educated about statelessness. All right. It opens up a platform. We can become educated about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is a very powerful document that our people should begin to study. It brings up the issue of identity and the right to travel. So regardless of if you agree with it or not, it's created a platform where our people can become more educated, and these are the types of things that we need to be studying and that we need to be knowing. This type of information needs to go, it needs to become household, it needs to be universal, it needs to go mainstream among the so-called black intelligentsia, among the so-called black revolutionary community, and even to the children, even to the children. If you look at the United Nations review of the U.S., the stakeholders review of the U.S., one of the main criticisms, there's no education for human rights in the school systems, maybe when you get to the higher level, but children need to know about human rights. You need to teach about human rights from the time that a child is able to learn, because if a child doesn't know the inalienable rights that they have, how are they going to know when they're being violated, and how are they going to know when to stand against it? So I'm not going to keep this show long. This is just an update and to give you some information and to keep you informed. Like always, brothers and sisters, thank you for listening, tuning in to the Cozmo El Show. Peace, love, all the above.